ready. I hope some of you, I know a lot of you came out last night to the Ashland baseball reunion at the Elks, and if you missed it, I'm sorry you did, because there was a bunch of old men masquerading as ball players. But they looked pretty good, actually. It was great. I know a lot of them hadn't seen each other for 40 and 50 years, and it's great to renew acquaintances. I tell you, I know why they were so good, because when they all got together in there, it was like, even though they needed a name tag to recognize each other, man, they played together real well. And I know they played together real well as for a 5-year period there when Ashland had the best baseball in Kentucky, and nobody has matched that ever, guys. Nobody's matched that 5-year reign through Kentucky. 3 state championships, a runner-up, and a Final Four. You can go back, I've looked all the way back. Nobody's matched it, and I don't think anybody ever will. So you guys have a lot to be proud of. I know you go through that. When you're going through it, you don't think about it. You know, you don't think of what your accomplishment when you're a young man, because you got your whole life ahead of you. But now as you're on that other side, you look back, and that's pretty cool, you know, what you did. And that's why I'm going to write a book about it, because I think it's a special time in Ashland, and I appreciate you guys. I grew up watching you guys. You know, you all were my idols. You know, I wanted to be Bob Lynch and John Mullins and people like that. I didn't want to be Joe Connolly. Never wanted to be. But there was a few I wanted to be. Anyway, we've had a great time organizing this, and I don't know how many hours we've sat in Bill Lynch's living room talking Tomcat baseball in particular, but, you know, it always goes back to Little League. It goes back to some great men in Ashland, some great fathers in Ashland who, you know, decided they wanted their boys to have the best thing in the world, and that's baseball. And, you know, it all happened right here in front of our eyes, right here. Central Park, I know it looks a lot different than when you guys played on it. 22nd Street looks a lot different, doesn't it? Ice skating rink now. 17th Street at the other end. This place was unbelievable, full of life. And, you know, I marvel at this reunion every year, watching people come, you know, from the parking lot and walking over, and you know, hear the names of, you know, of people that I've written about and read about and heard about, and it's just, you know, it's legends come to lifetime. For me, it really is, and for anybody that grew up in Ashland, you know, you guys are the legends. You really are. You guys are the names that are synonymous with championships, not just winning. You all won championships, state championships. You all made Ashland a better place. And but anyway, you know, whenever we're talking, and we're like, I'm like, how were you guys so good, you know? And really, you know, Zeke Myers is here. Zeke, raise your hand. There's a 2-time state championship coach right there, Zeke Myers. He came all the way from North Carolina here. We got David Dutton, who played on the Cats. He came from Connecticut. We've had him come from Florida. Somebody came from California, is that right? Yeah. So we've had them come all over, and you know, you come back home. And that's great, isn't it? You know, we've had this thing 4 years. It's never rained one drop. So I think God likes it too. It's a good thing. But anyway, when we talk about all this stuff, and we talk about Little League, and some names pop up. You know, Jack Lynch's name pops up. That's Billy and Bobby's father. You know, Carl Dove. There's so many that George Conley. There's so many. Yeah, there's just, I mean, you go on and on. But it seems like there's a couple names in particular that really, really stand out. And one of them was Jim Stewart, late Jim Stewart. Yeah. The impact that he made on this group of young men, and you know, it's not just guys that played on his Tigers team, but if they played on his All-Star team, if he had anything to do with them, man, you talk about legendary. Jim Stewart is the legend right now. I tell you, he was the coach that all these guys, I'm telling you all these guys look to. And you know, you didn't want to miss a ground ball practice if you were on Jim Stewart's team. You didn't. Charlie Jackson didn't want to make any basket catches, did you? Charlie just told me a story about that, how he made a couple. You know, Willie Mays was a big deal back then, and he was making basket catches, and he made a couple, and he caught the ball overhand, and then finally, and Jim Stewart said, you know, that's what you do. Another time you can do the basket catches. For now, you're playing on my team, you're catching it the right way. And that's why they won. You know, fundamentals of baseball. That's why they won. We have a couple guys here. Is Rick here?
Yes.
Rick Dixon?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to let Rick talk first for a few minutes, and we're going to keep all this brief because we know, you know, your all's time with each other is more valuable than this. But one thing I want to do before we do that, I want to recognize the state champs. Not state champs, but state champs. 1961 Ashland National. Raise your hand if you're on that team. Ashland National, 1961. 1963 Ashland American, not only state champs, got within one game of the Little League World Series. One game. No Ashland team has been that close ever since then. Back then it was single elimination. You had to battle your way all the way through. They lost to Texas 6-3 in the game that would have put them there. But wow, what a team. 1963 Ashland American. Raise your hand. And Jim Stewart's coached that team as well. Then the following year, they did it again. 1964, Jim Stewart's team again. Raise your hand. We'll backtrack to 63 again because 63 was a great year in Ashland. Ashland Babe Ruth, state champs. Raise your hand. All right. Okay, now we go into high school, and guess what? Those guys know how to play, don't they? They know how to win. 1965, first off, they go to the state tournament undefeated, and they're in the semifinals, and an errant throw that Bill Lynch still will never forget. We won't let him. 1965, they lose in the semifinals 5-4 to Bowling Green, but what a year. They were undefeated going into that game that they lost. Only lost one game that entire year. Raise your hand, 1965. 1966 was the year of revenge for Bill Lynch, and he put the Tomcats on his shoulder, and he got them back there. Undefeated team, 25-0, undefeated team. You don't hear of it. 25-0, it doesn't happen. Undefeated. Bill got them there in the championship, and then he turned the ball over to little brother Bobby in the finals, and that was the first of Bobby's 3 championships in a row. But 66, raise your hand, guys. State champs. Now we're building a little tradition, aren't we? People all over the state know Ashland. Uh-oh, that's trouble. Bowling Green knows it. Owensboro knows it. Paducah knows it. Lexington knows it. Louisville knows it. Everybody knows it. You guys made Ashland title town in that era. So we come back 1967. And Zeke was the coach of that 66 team as well. He comes back 67. How would you like to be the coach of these guys? No offense, Zeke, but I mean, I think I could have won too. Zeke was also a great football coach for the Tomcats, and as you can see, he still looks like he could play. And he coached at Marshall. He did a great job. We really appreciate you. And I tell you what, when I'm talking in the room and I mention your name, everybody gets straight. Everybody's kind of afraid to goof around a little bit. So you put some fear in them, Zeke. 1967, another great team. Raise your hand, guys. State champs. You know, it's fun. It's been so much fun talking to these guys. But I know after they won it in '66, I said, "How'd y'all celebrate?" Well, they celebrated like you do in Ashland when you win a state championship. You ride the fire truck. They came down to Central Park, and Zeke. You know, they had them all lined out there, and they had a microphone, or like a foghorn, really, I guess. It was more, than a microphone. Yeah, about that big. But Zeke asked them to say anything. Of course, they were too cool to say anything. Too cool for that. So Zeke had to do all the talking. But, just from talking to Bill Lynch since then, he said, boy, I wish I'd have said something. I wish I'd have thanked my dad. I wish I'd have thanked the fathers, the people who, made us the players we were. I mean, it did just happen, but it didn't happen without a lot of hard work from a lot of men and a lot of little boys who fell in love with baseball. That's how it happened. Okay, going on. Sorry about that. Just throw that in there. 68, another, now everybody's like, okay, Tomcats are for real. They've won 2 in a row. They were Final Four year before that. They come back and they win it again, a three-peat, 1968. Raise your hand. All right, we're going to the next year now, 1969, and they have a guy named Don Gullett they got to get through. Pretty tough. Don Gullett throwing, they didn't have radar guns back then. He was just real fast. But anyway, Don Gullett, they knew they were going to have to face him, and sure enough, they did. And there's all kinds of rumors about this. Bob Lynch supposedly pitched that game, but he was in Alabama playing basketball for the Crimson Tide at the time, so that really didn't happen. The other thing was it happened right here at Central Park. No, it didn't. It happened at Morehead State, and they know they're facing Gullett, and Ashland's got a great pitcher on the hill too, Tim Huff. Boy, one of the legendary pitchers in Ashland history. Tim Huff, where are you? There you go. So Ashland knew, okay, we're facing Gullett, but if we can just maybe get a run off the guy, maybe we can beat him. Boy, talk to some of these guys that face Gullett, talk to John Mullins, he's like, I never saw it. It's just coming at me so fast. And it's like getting a little frustrating because, this guy's throwing it, he's bringing it. And he's, McKell knows they got a chance. They can beat Ashland here. They had confidence. They had a couple of pretty good players. And if not for a couple of great catches, they would have been ahead. So I think it's the fourth or fifth inning. I think it's the fifth inning, actually. I think it's a 0-0 game. David Dameron, who wasn't a power hitter or anything like that, but he was a good catcher for the Tomcats. And he comes up and what he did, and he was telling me last night, I shouldn't share all my book secrets, but I will. What he was saying last night is he was going to do something to disrupt his rhythm. And so he calls timeout, and he walks down the third baseline, talks to Shorty Blanton, who said, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm just trying to disrupt his rhythm a little bit." "Oh, that's a good idea." So Shorty gave him that coaching advice, and he went back and he, you all have seen these guys now. He went back, you've seen these guys now step out of the box, do that kind of thing. Gullett's probably fuming. He's getting in there and he throws a couple other pitches and then he lays one right in there, and Dameron gets it, and it. He hits it, and that dugout jumps up. Oh my gosh, somebody hit it! And the ball sails to the wall, left field fence, bottom of the fence, and David was a catcher, but he was a pretty fast catcher, and he scooted around those bases. He ends up at third base with his only triple of the season. He had a few other hits, but he had his only triple of the season. That way, he's standing on third base, and he's thinking, "Oh my goodness, we're 90 feet away." So next hitter up was Mike Tackett. I don't think Mike's here, but again, you're facing Gullett, so he's striking out a lot of people. But Mike gets a hold of the fastball and drives it into center field, left center field. Guy makes the catch, and Dave's on third thinking, "Well, I hope that's deep enough." He tags up, he scores, and that was enough for Tim Huff. And it was over for McKell after that one run came across, and Ashland knew it because Ashland knows how to win. When those guys got ahead of you, they put their foot on your throat, and that's what they did that day. And they beat Donnie Gullett, and that was a semifinal game. Another myth on that was the championship game. No, it wasn't. It was a semifinal. They had to play Johns Creek that afternoon after that, and they pounded them 16-4 to win the region and go back to the state tournament. Got to the state tournament. They got back to the state finals, playing Owensboro, and again it was an errant throw that ends up laying in the winning run. So we were two missed throws, misfires, whatever you want to call it, miscues from winning 5 state championships in a row. And to think about that's mind-boggling, and to be that close. And to think in '69 they don't win it, and how disappointed they are to be second. That's because these guys were winners. They knew how to. They settled for nothing less than winning, and they were taught that by their little league coaches. They were taught that by their dads. Nobody cared who got the hits. Nobody cared who was the winning pitcher. Nobody cared anything about that. They cared about one thing: we're going to beat your butt. And they do eat a lot of butts in those 5 years, that's for sure. But again, it goes back to little league, and you know, and we're really fortunate in Ashland. We still have those two little leagues, Ashland National, Ashland American, and still developing players, and that's what it's all about. Rick Dixon. Rick was a hero, 1963. National American League team. He hit home runs, he